At first, everyone thought it was nothing special. Just another interstellar rock drifting lazily through space, minding its own business. A silent traveler from some distant star, passing through our neighborhood before vanishing back into the void. But then, the James Webb Space Telescope turned its gaze toward it, and everything changed. What appeared on those images sent chills down scientists' spines. A perfectly symmetrical, glowing red coma, unlike anything nature should be able to produce. There was no shimmering tail, no sparkling jets of water vapor, none of the telltale signs of a comet coming to life. Instead, what Webb saw was something unnervingly precise. Carbon dioxide released in steady, mechanical bursts as if controlled by design rather than chaos. And that's when the whispers began. In labs and observatories around the world, scientists dared to ask the question they've all been taught to avoid. What if this isn't a comet at all? We've been here before. Oumuamua, back in 2017, defied every natural explanation and sparked years of heated debate. But 3I Atlas? This is different. This one doesn't just raise questions, it shatters our understanding of what's possible. And with every passing day, it draws closer to the sun and to us. What the James Webb Telescope has just confirmed isn't just strange, it's unsettling. Even NASA, for all its experience decoding the cosmos, isn't sure what's about to happen next. From the moment Atlas appeared, it seemed to break every cosmic rule. Instead of a messy, chaotic halo of vapor and dust, the usual comet signature, Webb detected something breathtaking and deeply unnerving. A vast, glowing red sphere of gas, expanding with perfect symmetry, almost the distance between the Earth and the Moon. Its light wasn't soft or icy like most comets. It was deep crimson, rich, ominous, and steady. And strangest of all, it wasn't made of water vapor at all. It was entirely carbon dioxide. That detail stunned astronomers. At this distance from the sun, water should have boiled off first, flooding the coma with steam and creating a brilliant, shimmering tail, the kind backyard astronomers love to capture in their telescopes. But not Atlas. Atlas broke that law. No sparkling jets, no explosive outbursts, just a calm, eerily consistent release of CO2. Like something deliberate had flipped a switch and set it to vent slowly and quietly, as if under precise control. Naturally, attention turned to the core, the solid heart hidden inside the gas. And what researchers discovered next left entire teams speechless. Initial Hubble readings suggested the nucleus was small, maybe 300 to 500 meters wide, tiny really. But when Webb and SPHREX started scanning the object in near-infrared, the data didn't fit. The reflected light was far too intense, far too powerful. After countless recalculations, one shocking possibility emerged. The nucleus might actually be 46 kilometers across, larger than almost every known comet in the solar system. If that's true, then why didn't we see it sooner? An object that massive should have distorted starlight around it. Its gravitational pull alone should have given it away. But Atlas had somehow remained invisible until now. Some scientists theorized that the bright glow wasn't coming from the core at all, but from reflective dust in the coma. That sounded reasonable until they analyzed the light curve. And that's when the bottom fell out. The pattern wasn't random, like it should have been for natural dust particles. It was too perfect, smooth, symmetrical, almost polished. The way it reflected light looked engineered. A comet's surface is supposed to scatter light chaotically, every angle producing a different shimmer. But Atlas reflected light evenly, like a mirror crafted with intent. Every comet has a kind of voice, and that voice, more often than not, comes from water. As they draw closer to the sun, their frozen water bursts free, creating those glowing tails we all recognize. But 3I Atlas? It's quiet. Unnaturally quiet. Spectral scans confirm that there is water trapped beneath its surface. We can detect it hiding there, but barely any of it escapes. The data shows only about 4.5 kilograms per second leaking into space, a mere fraction of what we'd expect. One explanation suggests that the carbon dioxide itself is forming a kind of thermal shield, cooling the surface and locking the water beneath. Another theory argues the water is buried too deep to reach, insulated under thick layers of frozen gases. But here's the unsettling part. Even those ideas don't fully fit. There are no fractures, no bursts, no random spikes of activity, just that same steady rhythm, constant, flawless, unbroken. Because 3I Atlas doesn't just look strange, it moves in ways that shouldn't even be possible. Its path through the solar system isn't the erratic drift of a comet obeying gravity's pull. It's clean, intentional, impossibly precise. It glides between planets and solar winds as though it's calculating every move, every angle. It approaches the heat of the sun just enough to collect data, then swings away with surgical accuracy, untouched and stable. When astronomers tried to reverse engineer its trajectory, what they found left them stunned. 3I Atlas seemed to make micro-adjustments mid-flight, subtle changes in direction, almost imperceptible but undeniable. Natural objects can't do that. To alter a path in space, something needs energy, intent, control, which means this thing isn't drifting, it's navigating. It's as if something out there is following its own rules, and we're just now beginning to realize that we might not understand them. It started with one steady rhythm, the same pulse of CO2 repeating endlessly, like a metronome keeping time in the vacuum of space. No fluctuations, no chaos, just precision, cold, mechanical precision. And that's when a chilling question began to take root. What if the absence of water isn't a coincidence at all? What if it's intentional? Think about it. When something in the cosmos breaks the rules, when it refuses to act like nature says it should, it usually becomes global news. That's what happened with Oumuamua back in 2017. The entire world lit up with speculation. Scientists, journalists, and dreamers all leaned forward, asking the same question. Could this be alien technology? Even respected Harvard astronomers entertained the idea openly. But with 3I Atlas, there's only been silence, deafening silence. In August 2025, NASA's SPRX mission caught something monumental. The massive red coma, the eerie lack of water, the strange mirror-like reflectivity. Yet, instead of a press conference or a flood of interviews, the findings were tucked away on a quiet blog post weeks later, as if this was just another routine data entry. No headlines, no discussion, no buzz. Some brushed it off as NASA being cautious, sticking to protocol, avoiding another media frenzy like the one Oumuamua caused. But others, including some from inside the scientific community, have started to wonder if something else is going on. The silence feels too deliberate, like someone is holding back, afraid of what might happen if the full truth came out. And if NASA's not talking, maybe it's because they've already seen what's coming. And here's where things take an even stranger turn. When researchers cross-checked this trajectory with historical sky records, something astonishing emerged. There were ancient reports, centuries old, of mysterious red stars appearing briefly near Earth's orbit, then vanishing. Could it be that 3I/Atlas, or something like it, has been here before? Maybe it's not visiting for the first time. Maybe it's returning. because it knows the way. While Webb focused on the comet's strange red glow, it uncovered another anomaly, one that's reportedly sparked quiet debates behind closed doors at NASA and SETI. The light coming off Atlas's coma carried the fingerprints of complex organic molecules. Methanol, formaldehyde, carbon monoxide, all common enough in the universe. But what wasn't common was their pattern. These molecules weren't randomly mixed, as they should be in a natural gas cloud. They were layered, structured. The ratio and sequencing followed a repeating rhythm, a chemical cadence that mirrored the folding patterns found in proteins here on Earth. Not life, exactly, but something that looked an awful lot like design. To be clear, no one is claiming 3I/Atlas is alive, but the molecular organization suggests purpose, intent. A few researchers, dismissed at first as fringe, have started to gain quiet traction with a bold idea that these molecules could be part of a biological probe, not a message written in code, but one meant to be absorbed, a payload designed to interact with a planet's biosphere, to seed, to trigger, to change. If that's true, if those compounds reach Earth's atmosphere and react just right, we may not have years to study it. We may have months. Then came July. A quiet morning, no warning. The SETI Institute detected a signal, but this time it wasn't from some distant star system. It was local, coming from somewhere between Mars and Jupiter. A narrow-band transmission, faint but repeating. When translated to audio, it pulsed like an old radar beacon, rhythmic and artificial, like something calling out through static. Normally, SETI would chalk that up to interference, a passing satellite, a radio glitch, but this wasn't Earth-based. As 3I/Atlas shifted in its orbit, the signal's origin shifted too. The transmission was following it. For 17 tense minutes, that eerie synthetic pulse echoed across observatories worldwide. Then, silence. Total blackout. SETI's servers crashed simultaneously. Logs vanished, antennas went haywire, backup systems wiped clean. By the time everything rebooted, there was no trace of the event. The official explanation? A weather anomaly. But every engineer who worked on the system that day signed an NDA. And now, no one is talking. Some researchers have resigned, and one was reportedly hospitalized after insisting he could still hear the signal in his sleep. The James Webb Telescope, designed to detect faint heat signatures from the earliest moments of the universe, turned its gaze toward 3I/Atlas, expecting the usual, a frozen solid nucleus like any other comet. Instead, it returned something unprecedented. A perfectly flat infrared reading. No heat, no fluctuation, nothing. That kind of zero reading shouldn't exist. Every object in the cosmos emits at least a trace of thermal radiation. Yet 3I/Atlas behaved as if it absorbed all energy without a trace, or worse, as if it existed beyond the physical thermal spectrum altogether. To confirm, other observatories, including ESA's Solar Orbiter, ran independent scans. Their findings matched. The core was a total void. No reflection, no absorption, not even when bombarded by solar particles. The only explanations left were terrifying. Either the core was composed of material unknown to science, or it wasn't a core at all. Perhaps a cloaking shell, a projection, or a decoy hiding something beneath frequencies we don't yet comprehend. Some theorists now suggest 3I/Atlas may not be the object itself, but a mask, an intelligent disguise concealing a presence that has been observing Earth long before humanity learned how to look back. When image analysts enhanced data from the James Webb Telescope and other telescopes using Fourier transformation and multispectral filters, a new anomaly emerged. Within what should have been random gas dispersion patterns, they discovered a repeating fractal structure, precise, recursive, and geometric. This pattern wasn't artistic, it carried logic, as if the gas cloud itself were a carrier of encoded information. Attempts to map the structure revealed alignments with the golden ratio and Fibonacci sequences, patterns seen in DNA, galaxies, and even human neural architecture. Was this a signature of advanced intelligence? A hidden test? A kind of communication not made for machines, but for consciousness itself? If so, the message wasn't being transmitted through radio waves, it was being whispered directly into perception. As the findings reached molecular biologists, an even more disturbing link appeared. The composition of Atlas's molecular emissions mirrored specific sections of mitochondrial DNA, particularly those associated with neural growth and cellular aging. This led to a new and deeply controversial theory that 3I Atlas isn't introducing alien material to Earth, but awakening dormant biological sequences already written into life's blueprint. Could evolution itself have been seeded by such objects? Could this be the timer that resets or advances life's trajectory? If true, then 3I Atlas isn't a visitor, it's a signal, an ancient clock counting down to a moment of reconnection. The consequences are staggering. The trigger could awaken higher cognition or erase it entirely. And as if to confirm that something deeper is happening, observatories worldwide began reporting the same impossible phenomenon: a measurable delay between the comet's emitted light and its gravitational pull, as though 3I Atlas's mass and its light existed in separate realities. That shouldn't be possible, yet it's happening. At first, astronomers brushed off the gravitational data as a glitch. Gravity, after all, is instantaneous at these scales. There shouldn't be a delay between light and mass. But when the models were refined, a shocking truth surfaced. Something else was there. A second, unseen mass trailing exactly 312,000 kilometers behind 3I Atlas. This gravitational ghost had no presence in visible light, infrared, ultraviolet, or even radio frequencies, and yet its pull was unmistakable. Solar particles bent in its wake, nearby comet tails twisted unnaturally, and the faint light of background stars warped just slightly as if space itself was being tugged by an invisible hand. The mass was small, comparable to a modest asteroid, but it was utterly silent. No radiation, no reflection, no signal. Just existence. Some theorists whispered the unthinkable, that this hidden companion might be the real traveler, with 3I Atlas serving as nothing more than a facade, a front, a mask, a projection. If that's true, then everything we've seen so far has been nothing but theater. What's really coming toward us isn't in front of Atlas, it's behind it. 2 weeks ago, an alleged leak from a major aerospace contractor reignited the fire. It claimed the United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs, UNOSA, had received a classified joint transmission from NASA, ESA, and China's CNSA. The document supposedly confirmed that 3I Atlas was no longer behaving according to celestial mechanics, and that global coordination for planetary-scale observation was already underway. Within hours, the leak was denied, scrubbed from every database, and labeled a hoax. But the digital footprints told a different story. Satellite communication networks lit up with a spike of encrypted traffic. Every orbital telescope, from Hubble to Webb, received a synchronized firmware update. Normally, such coordination would take months. This happened in under 36 hours. Why the rush? What were they preparing to track or to conceal? Then came another discovery. As NASA and ESA teams continued modeling Atlas's CO2 emissions, they realized the venting wasn't random. It pulsed in a pattern, precise, methodical. When analyzed, the timing between each release matched Planck intervals when scaled logarithmically. Planck time, the smallest possible unit of time in physics, the heartbeat of the universe itself. When this data was cross-referenced with atomic clocks around the world, something eerie occurred. They began desynchronizing by microseconds. Atomic clocks in Geneva, Tokyo, and Boulder, machines that never falter, were suddenly skipping beats, out of sync with one another. Drones lost formation mid-flight, observatory systems rebooted at random, and even certain classified defense networks reportedly fell out of time alignment. Whatever Atlas was doing, it was bending not just light, but the very flow of time. If that's true, what happens when it draws nearer? And then Webb detected something else that shouldn't exist. While Atlas's coma remained active, venting streams of gas into space, its core temperature dropped to an impossible 40 Kelvin, nearly absolute zero. A body that cold cannot outgas. It should be inert, yet it wasn't. Even more disturbing was the symmetry of the cold zone, perfectly spherical, sharply defined, and completely uniform. There was no gradient, no variation, just absolute control. That could only mean one thing. The temperature was being regulated. By what? No one knows. Some scientists now suspect Atlas is maintaining a cryogenic chamber inside it, preserving something, a payload, a life form, or perhaps something meant to awaken. The theory that once belonged to science fiction forums has now infiltrated mainstream discussion among astrobiologists that 3I Atlas may not be a comet at all, but a vessel, its frozen heart containing something meant to thaw when it reaches the right conditions. If that's true, then the countdown has already begun. The Very Large Telescope in Chile recently tracked Atlas as it passed behind distant stars, hoping to better understand its shape. But what they found left everyone speechless. Light echoes. Long after the comet moved on, faint ripples of light persisted where it had been, as if the object left an imprint in space-time itself. These echoes didn't fade in minutes or hours. They lingered for days, slowly shifting in harmony with Earth's rotation. Astrophysicists tried to explain it away as gravitational lensing, but the phenomenon persisted across all instruments, all filters. It was almost as though 3I Atlas existed in multiple places or times at once. A Harvard quantum optics team has since proposed a radical idea that Atlas may not be moving through time linearly. It might be a temporal echo itself, an entity existing across moments, revealing only fragments to us at once. But perhaps the strangest twist didn't come from physicists, it came from historians. A rogue collective of mythologists and astrophysicists uncovered references across ancient civilizations, Sumerian, Dogon, Mayan, and the Indus Valley. Each spoke of a star that returns every 13 lifetimes, a mirror that sees the soul of Earth. The texts describe a crimson eye in the heavens, motionless, symmetrical, silent. For centuries, these tales were dismissed as myth, but now the descriptions match eerily with what modern instruments are seeing. The ancients even recorded rituals of stillness, as if awaiting judgment or signal during the star's appearance. SETI historians are beginning to wonder, did they already witness it? Did they know what was coming? Because if 3I Atlas isn't a comet, but a watcher, an observer, then maybe this isn't its first visit. Maybe it's been here before, waiting for us to notice. And after everything, the silence, the signals, the cold, the echoes, one thing is becoming clearer with each new image Webb transmits. 3I Atlas is not simply passing by. It's watching back. Its symmetry, its rhythm, its timing all point to something deliberate, something intelligent, something that has been woven into our myths, our physics, and now our understanding of reality itself. They are not random, they are intentional, ancient, and exact. 3I Atlas didn't arrive, it returned. It defies our models because it was never meant to fit them, because it exists beyond the framework of our physics, beyond the rules we believe define reality. And maybe, just maybe, so do we. Maybe we are the true anomaly, what it came to measure, to awaken, or to judge. Governments can stay quiet. Space agencies can dismiss it as another fragment of cosmic debris, but the data no longer lies. The instruments are speaking now. Clear, steady, undeniable. The patterns are too deliberate, and the influence is already spreading through the air, through our memories, through the very code of life itself. 3I Atlas isn't just reflecting starlight, it's reflecting us. Everything we were, everything we are, everything we might become. So, the next time you gaze into the night sky and feel something staring back, don't look away. You may not be witnessing a comet. You may be staring into the mirror of our own beginning, or the shadow of our end.